Hey, it's the Profit Answer Man, Rocky Lalvani. If you're new to the podcast, check out my interview with Mike Michalowicz. It's episode number 2. If you want to hear about each chapter in the Profit First book, go back and listen to episodes 3 through 13. Episode 1 is the why and how. On the Profit Answer Man, we learn money mastery without all the complicated accounting mumbo-jumbo using a simple system. Your accountant is busy documenting your transactions and creating a rearview mirror of what happened. My guess is you don't even look at the reports they sent you. If you're like most business owners, you struggle with this, and it's not your fault. We aren't taught money in school, and accountants aren't taught how to be profitable. The Profit First system created by Mike Michalowicz works, and he certified me to help you implement the system in your business. Remember, the new equation is sales minus profit equals expenses. Let's face it, without cash flow, you can't pay your employees, buy needed materials, or pay your mortgage and support your family. I help you to do that and more, so you can focus on the parts of the business you love and receive the rewards for your labor and investment into your business. The stronger you are as a business owner, the more jobs you create, the better we are as a country. Small business owners are the backbone of America, and for that, you deserve to be well rewarded. Just remember, more revenue does not equal more profit. That's why we focus on the bottom line. This episode of the Profit Answer Man podcast is brought to you by SMBpodcastnetwork.com. The network is a collection of podcasts and shows from around the internet which focus on bringing you interviews with amazing guests who share actionable advice, ideas, and information for small and medium-sized business owners and entrepreneurs. Visit www.smbpodcastnetwork.com to find more great shows and easily subscribe to be notified of new episodes. It's a great way to discover quality content. If you've discovered us via the network, then I hope you enjoy today's show and will consider subscribing directly so you never miss our episodes. I find in business, most people don't focus on the basics. To start with, you have to know your mission, values, and purpose. Otherwise, every shiny object that comes along distracts you from your goal. It's a step so many people miss, and as you will hear, it goes much further than just your branding. Marketing can be expensive, but it doesn't have to be. And more importantly, is creating a message that automatically attracts your ideal clients to you is big. We shall cover that as well. Josh is going to share a lot of counterintuitive points today. He says in a world where dreams are crushed, souls are forgotten, and rust never sleeps, Josh Zepess, the identity archaeologist, is on a mission to ensure talented solopreneurs turn every business first impression into a second impression. That's where the sale happens, by raising their ROC, return on conversation, so they can profit more without grinding more. After decades on the corporate farm as a shy, introverted engineer, he realized that the cubicle could no longer contain him, so he escaped. It was a rocky road through entrepreneurship in the financial and gym industries until he finally stopped ignoring his genius. Now he plays in it, profitably, every day. When he's not digging for business gold, he flies airplanes, brews beer, runs long-distance obstacle course races, and is a semi-pro comedian. Not the funny kind. Let's meet Josh. Welcome to the Profit Answer Man, Josh Zepess. It's great to have you join us today.
Thanks, Rocky. Appreciate it. Honored to be here.
Honored as well. Can you share a little bit about yourself and your business?
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of folks out there know me as the identity archaeologist, and I always get the question, what does that mean, Josh? What is that? Well, honestly, on the surface, it means I have no competition, which you have to admit in business is kind of a cool place to be. But a little more seriously, it's how I take my genius, my talents, my expertise, and I bring it to a commodity called personal branding, where I get to go dig deep into a person, find that treasure, that uniqueness, that purpose, mission, value, stand, dig that up, bring it to the surface, knock off all the BS conditioning, all the crap we're told growing up about there's no money in that and you can't do it and all that stuff. Keep your head down. We knock all that crap off and we polish it and refine it until it shines so bright. People come from thousands of miles to come see it. It's essentially the end of selling, the chasing, begging, convincing, typical sales marketing process. And it's the start of just shining and attracting. That's what I do.
And I'm sure a lot of people would appreciate that. And we'll dig into it because there's a lot of underlying things that I have noticed with business owners that they need quite a bit of help with. And I know that you can help them. So we'll chat about those. Before we get to that, there was a statement on something that you sent me that kind of piqued my interest, which was, why don't most people, and you said 92%, never achieve a goal they set?
Yeah, actually, what's interesting, that statistic, it's when it comes to New Year's resolutions, 75% of us give up within 30 days of our New Year's resolution, and 92% give up in that year, by the end of the year. Which, by the way, listen to what that says. That 92% are the ones that gave up. It doesn't mean the 8% hit their goal. It just meant the 8% were still going or hit their goal. And so why do we not achieve our goals? At the highest level, honestly, it's because we don't set goals worth achieving. Very, very basic.
When you say we don't set a goal worth achieving, what does that mean? Like, what's a goal not worth achieving?
When we don't know why we're trying to achieve it. For me, there's 3 questions you have to ask before. This is the foundation of goal crushing, which is the psychology of achieving a goal. There's 3 questions you have to answer. And if you can't answer these, forget about it. Don't even worry about any other aspect of goal setting. Don't worry about SMART goals and all this, how to stop procrastination, all this BS that we try and, sugarcoat our goal crushing with. What do you want exactly, right? You've got to know what that is down to specifically see it in your mind. You got to be able to taste it, touch it, smell it, feel it, all that stuff. But the second question is, why must you have it? And this is where I see most people fall apart. Not why do you want it? That's not the right question. It's why must you have it? I want to know if your goal is to lose 30 pounds in 6 months or something like that. Wonderful. If you don't lose the 30 pounds in 6 months, will life go on? Will it be okay? Will you just figure it out? If the answer is yes, stop, scratch your goal off because you're not going to ever achieve it. Go back to question number 1 and set a goal worth achieving. I want to know that life is not going to go on, that someone's going to be homeless, someone's going to get hurt. I want to know who's going to die. If it's not that important to you, forget about it, right? And then question number 3 is, how are you going to get it? And that gets into environment, the planning, the mindset. But yeah, most people, they just don't set goals that they want to achieve because we always do we don't always do what we should do. We don't always do what we want to do, but we always do what we have to do. So the key to goal crushing is, how do you take something you want and turn it into something you must have? Once you do that, you can accomplish anything. That might have been a big answer to your short question. I apologize, but I get excited about this stuff.
And that's clear. And, if you're not excited about something, then why are you doing it, right?
Exactly.
It's funny because all of my clients, we sit down usually October, November, and we set financial goals because, hey, that's what we're here for. And we will look at what are we expecting to do next year based on what we've done this year. And then after we're done, I'm like, and we look at the numbers, I'm like, are you satisfied with that? Does it make sense? Is it going to help you pay for what you need in your personal lives and so forth? And then we start to dig in. Well, what needs to change or what has to happen in order for these results to occur? And we go right back to very much the basics of where does all of that begin? And then what's the first step we need to take? And are we ready to hit the ground running in January? But we're doing this in October and November. We don't do it January 1, right? So that we ease into the year and we know when January rolls around, we've already got a plan in place. We know where we're going. We've got a scoreboard and a target. And I'm really good about constantly measuring against that and saying thumbs up, thumbs down. What do we need to do differently, or what worked well, and how do we continue to do more of it? So it's just that focus every month, time after time, to watch our scoreboard and course correct. And I don't care if the scoreboard's right. It tells us where we started. And then throughout the year, we say, hey, this is where we started. This is where we think we're going to go. And what do we need to do differently?
Yep. Hey, let's shake a paradigm here real quick. January 1st is not New Year's. That's not New Year's Day. That's some BS we were told. I mean, I don't know who came up with that idea that January 1st is this magical date. You know what New Year's is? New Year's is the day that you just actually decide to make a change, that you decide on a serious goal and you go after it. So if someone's got a financial goal out there and they're waiting for New Year's, you probably already lost. You're probably already done. Don't wait for New Year's. You know what? Happy freaking New Year. Today is New Year's, Rocky. I just want to wish everyone a happy New Year. Get off your freaking asses, set a goal worth accomplishing, and go talk to this dude. Go find someone to help you take that goal and start making it a reality, because New Year's is the day you start. It's not January 1st. So let's just get that out of our minds.
Well, we do that. If you come to me in the middle of the year, we set goals from end of this year. And the only reason I think we follow that is because it's the tax year and it's easy to tie everything together at a set period of time. But we won't, if you come to me in May, I'm not going to wait till January 1.
No, I know you won't. I know you won't. I just want to make sure everyone listening realizes that they don't have to wait.
No.
Right.
Well, and that's my other favorite book. It's the 12-week year. Get more done in 12 weeks than most people do in an entire year, because they break the year up into 4 years. Every quarter is a sprint for that quarter. Everything gets turned off except what we're focused on this quarter, and off we go. And it works well. It's a good, strong principle.
And on setting financial goals too, and I'm sure you do this, but getting really specific into, money's never the goal. And I see a lot of folks get too focused on money. Money's just, it's how you transfer value. It's just it's a temporary holding cell for some other thing that you want. So the question is, with the money, what are you going to do with the money? And getting down to specifics, like really, really detailed idea of, if you had the money that you want to have, that you want to save for, what exactly are you going to do with it? And if it's got something to do with your family, even better, right? If it's getting your kids braces, if it's buying that next home, a vacation home, whatever that is, get very specific on that. And that's going to help a lot.
It gives you something to strive towards.
Yeah, it makes it real. The more detailed, the more real it is. Yes.
So true. One of the biggest things I've noticed when I go out, especially when I'm networking, or, since COVID, we've all been on Zoom. And so many of you may be on these Zoom networking calls. I notice most business owners struggle with the question of, what do you do? And they can't, they're going on for 3.5 minutes. I've turned off already, right? I'm reading emails at this point. I have no idea what they do, how they do it, and why they should help. My goal is, hey, I want to tell you in 30 seconds or less what I do. And if I can't get my message across, then I am not doing a good job. And that's your zone of genius.
It is. Rocky, you know why you don't know what they do? Very simple. They don't know what they do. That clarity starts here on the inside. If you don't know what you do, how the heck can anyone else know? So that's really the first struggle with folks. They don't have clarity on what they do. In fact, and what they think they do is not what they do. Let me give you an example. I'll pick on, I was in the financial industry, so I'll pick on insurance agents. You talk to an insurance agent, ask them what they do. I sell insurance and investments. Like, no, you don't. That's not what you do. That's how you do what you do. That's not the what. Maybe the what is, you make sure that if I die in a car accident tomorrow, my wife doesn't have to go on to GoFundMe and beg for money, because no spouse should ever have to beg and grieve at the same time. Maybe that's what you do. And then how you do it is by selling me insurance, getting me a policy, helping me with my investments. And that's great. But we confuse those two, and we keep talking about the how. We keep talking about, I sell insurance, I sell insurance. Well, guess what? You're now a commodity. You're just going out there and you're in the sea of sameness. You're around 50,000 other agents, all saying the same crap, same script, the same borrowed pickup lines, and it's not working. So yeah, we got to get our heads around what we do, which is the transformation, not the process.
And I think in today's world, if you cannot separate yourself, then you are essentially in that zone where you're a commodity and nobody's going to buy from you, or this is where the opposite side comes in. When you're in that zone, you have to spend a lot of money on marketing, which is very expensive. If you're a commodity, it depends. But
if you're a commodity,
is to get noticed. Yes. You're constantly having to do things to get noticed, because nobody's going, oh, that's the guy or that's the gal. Whereas when you're that person, then everybody knows that's the one, and you don't have to do as much work.
You're 100% correct. Yes, if you're a commodity, it's very expensive, because you're in a race to the bottom. Someone's going to come along and do it better, faster, cheaper, and now everyone's racing to the bottom of the pit, and that's no good. So let's be very clear here. The only unique thing in most people's businesses, especially solopreneurs, small business owners, there's only one unique thing in the entire business. That's them. That's it. Everything behind them is a commodity. I don't care if you're selling hot dogs, you're selling insurance or real estate or life coaching. It's all a commodity behind you. You're the uniqueness. So if you don't bring your uniqueness to the front of your message, if you don't start with that, you're done. You're never going to be able to differentiate yourself out in public. And it's going to be a grind. And it's not a fun grind. I've been there. Don't recommend it.
No, it is not a fun grind. And the reality is I don't think I would take a client who was racing to the bottom. We try to race to the top. I want to help them achieve premium pricing, because at the end of the day, that's what drives their profitability. How do we become a premium priced service or product or whatever it is that we're doing? Otherwise, it becomes way too difficult. So, can you explain the lighthouse effect?
Yes, absolutely. I always say I love lighthouses, but I love them for what they don't do more than just for what they do. Because here's what I've noticed about lighthouses. Lighthouses, they don't chase, they don't go out into the sea and beg the ships in distress during the storm to come to shore, right? They don't leave voicemail after voicemail after voicemail on the ship's phones. They don't take the ships out for a steak dinner. They don't do any of that kind of stuff. You know what lighthouses do? They just stand there, but they stand for something. They stand for safety, security, shoreline, all the stuff that those ships in distress out in the sea, everything those ships need at the time when the storm's coming in. So my challenge for people is, are you shining your light? Are you that lighthouse? Because your clients, your prospects are out there, they're capsizing, they're drowning. They're looking for a sign, they're looking for a signal, they're looking for someone's light to shine, and they can go find that light and say, there's my salvation, there's the person that can help me, and they can go towards that light. But most people have their light turned off, or it's confusing, or it's hazy, or it's the wrong color, or it's not authentic. So what is that light? It's just your brand. We're only talking about brand, your uniqueness articulated. The lighthouse effect is about shining that, and shining it really far, really brightly, taking a stand, understanding why you exist, knowing exactly what you do, purpose, mission, vision, all aspects of your brand, and just shouting it from the rooftops. That's what it's about. And then there's no more selling. Then you don't have to go chasing anymore.
And it's funny because you mentioned purpose, vision,
and mission.
Mission, which MVP, most business owners want to skip over that. And
they do.
That's what your lighthouse is. It's funny because I someone just shared a sales article with me that I love so much. I was sharing it with all my clients. The number one factor separating most winners from second place finishers was educating the client with a new idea or perspective. So it wasn't me too. It wasn't I have insurance. It was let me teach you or let me show you something that you may not have heard about before. Here's a new perspective. And if you look at it in a different way, that's kind of the number one thing. Then the other things that came up were collaboration. So it's not one-sided. The other things they talked about is showing that you can achieve the results. Because too often, there's so much hot air out there, right? And then listening to the clients.
Of course.
And that is something people don't do.
No. The first thing you just mentioned was being unique, right? You're just talking about some different perspective. That could simply just be why you're in business versus everyone else. And the reason I use MVP as an example, to me, that's a 3 combination lock that unlocks your entire brand. It unlocks all your uniqueness, all the other brand assets that you create. Starts with that. And you're the only one with that combination. I promise, you can come up with your mission, vision, and purpose. No one's got that same exact combination of statements of brand. So that right there is unique. And if you approach someone with that uniqueness, there you go. You're already starting off on the right foot.
The other thing that I don't think people talk about, and this is where I really get into it with my clients, you need to hire your employees to your MVP. If they are not 100% on board, like when you do the interviews, don't hire these people. Because if you're not clear on who you are and how you serve, and you don't surround yourself with people who believe in you, you're going to have all kinds of employment issues.
Let's be even more clear on this. Your employees are your number one clients. They are the ones that are going to be representing your company to all the other clients. They're your number one clients. You should treat them like freaking gold, right? They got to believe in what you're doing. They got to love it. They got to want to promote it. If they're there for the paycheck, you're going to have a really hard time.
You are. And I can't tell you how many businesses I've walked into where they've hired incorrectly, or they're not paying their front end or their client facing staff a reasonable amount of money, or they just haven't picked the right people. And it is a big turnoff to the business. And I look at that and I go, you're paying this person in I'm thinking old term, COVID and the new world of salaries is different, but $2 or $3 difference an hour can make the difference in the world. I look at the Costco business model, right? They have half the employees of everybody else. They pay their employees better than everyone else, and everyone has a wonderful experience there. Right. That's the way I look at it. Overall, your payroll's in line. It's not like I'm telling you to increase payroll, and you get more production out of the people that you have, and they all believe in your values, and they treat people in a very different way than if I go to one of Costco's competitors. I can tell where I'm at just by the employees.
The example I use a lot is airlines. I will not fly United or American Airline because every time I've done this, I've never seen a smile on a flight attendants or pilot. No one ever smiles. They either they hate their lives, they hate themselves, they hate the airline. I don't know what their problem is precisely, but I won't patronize them. I won't give them my money, because what happens is then I get delayed. Then, all of a sudden the plane has a mechanical issue. It like cascades. You get these unhappy employees, and it manifests in very poor business. And those are 2 airlines I will not fly. I will walk before I will fly those airlines. So not that any other airline is fantastic, but there's levels of acceptability.
There are. And I with travel being disrupted right now, but Southwest in the past used to do a phenomenal job, and they weren't the fanciest airline.
Nope.
but they made traveling fun, and they're very efficient. Even though everyone has to pick their own seat, they can load a plane faster than anybody. And everyone pitches in to say, let's get that plane off the ground and in the air and you to your destination. I don't know that they're still that efficient. It's been a while, but I'm assuming that they're doing the best they can.
I've always had good experiences on Southwest and Alaska and Delta and those kinds of airlines. And, you can see it in the employees. The employees actually are a reflection of how well that company operates and how much they believe in the mission, the vision, and the purpose.
I've always said it goes back to the guy at the top of the chain or gal, right?
Or gal.
It goes back to the CEO, whoever is running that ship. And that's why I always get mad at their surveys. I'm like, thank you for giving me a survey on your customer service rep. The problem isn't them, it's the CEO. And you never ask about them and their policies and the way they do things.
No.
What's the biggest mistake with marketing that people make in their business?
Wow, where to begin on this? First of all, that they do marketing first. We're sold this lie that marketing is everything. Marketing is not everything. It's a thing. But when you look at the client acquisition process for most companies, there's 3 stages. There's the brand and the message, right? The introduction, the first impressions. Then there's the marketing, which is your amplifier of the message, makes your message louder, it's directional, right? And then there's the sales conversation at the end, because at some point you've got to help them become a client. And people think marketing is the entire thing. So they buy these magic marketing pills. They're like, it's like the weight pills, the lose fat fast, which doesn't exist, right? Those quick pills. So people buy these quick marketing fixes, but they don't have a message. They don't have a brand. So they're essentially amplifying garbage. They're amplifying junk, and it's very costly. And then they wonder why they don't have anyone to talk to in the sales conversations, or they're talking to the wrong people, because again, their message wasn't attracting the right people. It was just garbage. And then they go back to the job that they hate, and they give up on entrepreneurship. And that's another dagger into my frickin' heart when that happens. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make.
Hopefully we will prevent it going forward.
I'm giving my life to do that. That's why I do what I do.
Now, you said something interesting, which is that people are more afraid of success than failure. Why are people afraid of success? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, you wouldn't think it makes sense. But let's look at it. We're human beings. We're imperfect. We're constantly failing. We're failing every single day. We fail and we fail and we fail and we keep going. But if you look at the spectrum, and I'm holding my hands up, I know you can't see it, but if you look at the spectrum of, on one side, abject failure, on the other side, the fullest expression of our possible human potential, right? On that entire spectrum, where are most people? Honestly, we're like right next to abject failure. We're like one paycheck away from everything falling apart, or, one missed paycheck. We're one missed mortgage payment away from being homeless. Like, we are so flirting with failure. We're basically living right there. So how can we be afraid of something we're already doing? Here's what we're afraid of. Success isn't a destination. Success is a state of being. It's a journey. We're afraid that the problem with success is once you start getting a little bit, you can't stop. Once you start pedaling the bike, I think of success like a bike. You start getting momentum, you start getting some sales, you're like, oh, wow, this is working. You can't stop pedaling, because if you stop pedaling, you fall down. So what happens is we got to pedal faster and faster, and then we start doubting ourselves. Oh my God, Josh, what if I crash? What if I can't handle it? What if I get too many clients? What if this happens? What? Because we just don't believe in ourselves. We're so afraid of our own greatness. We're so afraid that we might make a mistake and screw everything up. We would rather just sit on the side of the road with 2 flat tires on our bike and just say, I'm just afraid of failing. I don't want to even try. But we're not actually afraid of failure. It's our greatness that scares the crap out of us. It's our potential.
So how do we overcome that gap? Like, how do we overcome that fear?
This goes back for me. It goes back to getting clear on why you exist, why you get out of bed every morning, and defining that, taking a stand. This goes back, and this is also kind of why I do, the branding and the clarity aspect of it. Because there's some things that you got to be willing to die for. There's some things that got to be more important than your fears. When what you want to accomplish, when the reason you exist, when you say, damn it, this is why I woke up this morning. This is the impact I want to have on the world. This is the mission I'm going on. And there's the vision. There's the finish line. I can see the finish line. When we're just so convicted in why we even breathe, that all of a sudden the fear of failure and the fear of success, the fear of everything goes to the side. We don't have time for fear. We don't have time for that kind of distraction. But that's a big thing to put in place, because our entire lives, and I'll speak for myself, but I know this from a lot of my clients, our entire lives we were told to keep our head down, to not stand out, to just do what we're told, to obey. So we've been conditioned to submit, right? To just, I say most people tiptoe through life hoping to make it safely to death. That's kind of our story. We're just like, I don't want, just nice and easy, survival. Oh, we're dead. And that's unfortunately what a lot of folks go through in their journey. But there's got to be something greater.
I think I find a lot of entrepreneurs are more willing to take the risk. They're more, yes. You know what? I'm not going to keep my head down. I'm not going to listen. As a matter of fact, I can't keep my head down. We're just going for it. And so
that's right. That's the definition of an entrepreneur, honestly. That's the definition. And you know what? We're born entrepreneurs. I did a white paper where I proved that we're born as entrepreneurs by comparing the characteristics of an entrepreneur with the characteristics and traits of a 2-year-old. And they are identical, every single one. We're born entrepreneurs. We're conditioned into slavery, employment, however you want to put that, human battery, all that stuff, running the machine.
I fixed the one problem, though. All the 2-year-olds are like, but I want it now. I'm like, you can have it, but we have to wait. We have to sell first before you can pay for it.
That's right. But aren't entrepreneurs the same way? Aren't all entrepreneurs in a hurry too? See?
They are. I know. I have to get them to sequence. We can do all of that. We need to sequence it. Go get your work done. Clean up your room.
But you want them to have the fire, though. Still, yes. You want them to have the sense of urgency. Yes, it needs to be directed. I agree, and it's got to be done properly, of course. But to have that fire, so many people have lost that sense of urgency. Like I said, they're just waiting to die. Most people are just waiting to die. They wake up in the morning, they're like, again? All right, whatever. And that's like, no.
I don't have those people in my circle, so I don't know who they are.
Good.
Speaking of kind of being lit up, what is the key to giving a killer presentation? Number one key, don't present.
Seriously, that's the key to giving a great presentation. Don't present, because presenting is all about ego. It's all about you sounding smart and talking at people. So the number one rule of presenting, don't present. But the real key is you got to take people on an emotional journey. You got to tell the story. It's got the entire presentation has to be narrative. And you have to understand how emotion flows with people, because we're emotional creatures. So keep the facts and the figures to a small amount, but take people on a journey, capture their heart, and learn how to have a one-on-one conversation with 1,000 people at the same time. That's beautiful. When you get to that level of public speaking and everyone in the room feels like you're talking directly to them, like an old friend, oh boy, watch out.
Do you have any good resources or books for people to learn how to do that?
I don't know if I have any good books on that. That's part of what I teach too, because that's part of articulating your message and your brand. But I'll give a little quick concept is you want to get off the emotional stage. You want to emotionally get off the stage, because the problem is when we get on stage, we're like on a pedestal, right? Our ego starts getting up there. It becomes a little bit too much about us. We want to get off that stage emotionally. And we want to sit next to every person in the audience and hug them. Not hug them, but like put your arm around them and just have that truthful, honest conversation. And that's a skill that can be learned. That is very possible to do. But as far as books, yeah, there's probably something if I thought about it, but nothing's coming right to mind. I had some really amazing mentors in my life where I learned how to do this. So that's where I learned it. It wasn't from a book.
Were they people that you worked with one-on-one or people that you watched and learned from?
No, business mentors, people that I watched that were making $1 million a month in their businesses. And they were just teaching me, and I learned how to do it. And I was actually doing presentations. I was doing that for them and helping them open up more offices. This was actually in the financial industry, as a matter of fact.
There's nothing like getting paid to learn.
Isn't it great? It's awesome.
It is. I love it. It's something that I do my best to figure out how to get people to do that. It's always much easier and much less expensive. Again, our focus is always on the bottom line and how do we become more profitable.
And, they always used to say it's okay to be a copycat if you copy the right cat. So when you have a good influence in your life, it's okay to learn from them and make it your own, right? And use that wisdom.
Absolutely. If people would like to learn more about you and connect, what's the best way for them to do that?
The two best ways, my website, for one, joshzepess.com, and also social media, @JoshZepess for almost every platform, or the Identity Archaeologist. And no one else has my name. I promise you won't get confused with anyone else out there. I'm the only Josh Zepess in the entire world. I checked.
You're lucky like me, right? I own Google because I have a unique name that makes it easy to get good SEO without.
What's the background of your name? I'm just curious.
I'm actually from India.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's confusing.
Very cool. Yeah, it works.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Josh, and we'll put those in the show notes to make it easy for people to find you.
My pleasure, Rocky. Thank you for having me, and happy to hopefully share at least one nugget that everyone can take something away from.
If you want a done-for-you service, you can hire us as your chief profitability officers. You have your own area of expertise, and maybe you want to spend more of your time doing what you love. We only work with a handful of clients, so they all get our full attention. We work with business owners who have or are growing to $500,000 to $5 million in revenue. You can use the scheduling link in the show notes to get on our calendar for a good fit conversation to see if we're the right people to support you and how we can help you.
Hey, it's Rocky. Don't forget to check out my other podcast, Richer Soul, where we talk about life beyond money and how to live that ultimate life and become a better leader in your company. As we close out, let's repeat the mantra. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. Have an abundant and profitable week.